Howard Dracup, welcome to Running Your Stories. How are you doing?
I'm good, thanks. Yourself, mate?
Yeah, feeling good, feeling good. I'm hoping you are feeling good after you've just had a nice little holiday in Tenerife.
I could have done with another week, but
Yeah,
that's
it
always the case, isn't it?
certainly is. Sounds like a really good way to recover from a decent race.
Yeah.
Yeah, so we said we'd get together and have a bit of a chat about your fantastic Challenger North and also a bit about the time last year and things going on leading into that. And I'm sure we'll touch on about the sort of future next things.
Yeah.
So where would you like to start? Are you going to...
Yeah, we can start from the beginning if you like. Go
sure.
back to last year if you want.
Yeah. So what was going on with you last year, Howard?
Yeah, I'd done a little bit. Basically, I was under. The way I look at it is I was, instead of over, in a way, I was overtraining, but really that's not the best way of putting it. I think a better way of putting it is I was under recovering because I wasn't doing anything out of the ordinary, anything that I wasn't capable of. But what I wasn't giving myself is enough recovery time. And I think that's a better way of putting it. I was under recovered. So I continued to train way before last year while I was always under recovered. And I was under recovered because I wasn't getting enough sleep, basically. It was a little bit. First of all, you don't really realise that you're under recovered or that you're overtraining or that you've got this issue because it all starts off as I feel tired, I'm losing fitness. So when you feel like that, what do you go and do when you feel like you're not fit? You go and train a bit harder, don't you? You think, I'm feeling crap. I'm not training as well as I could. I've lost a bit of fitness. I need to train harder. And then it's one big vicious circle. All you do is you dig yourself into a deeper hole. So I wasn't sleeping so good. But I've not, since about the age of 30, and I'm 37 now, I've not really slept so good. So it was the sleep issue wasn't really anything out of the ordinary. But subconsciously, it was creeping up on me more and more and more and more. And my running was getting worse, and I was getting more and more tired and tired. And then also, to mask the tiredness, I'm also a big lover of coffee. And I could quite easily do 2 really strong coffees in the morning before going for a run. So that was just like a false sense of energy, which added to the problem even more. And that just progressively got worse until it got to the point where I think last time we chatted on a podcast, was it the solo unsupported Bob Graham?
Yes.
How did we go out? Was it?
Yeah, it was when solo adventures during lockdown, wasn't it? Yeah.
It was, yeah.
Yeah.
So I was kind of suffering with this kind of overtraining syndrome back then, but didn't quite realise to what extent how bad it was, basically. So I had a go at doing 2 solo unsupported Bob Grahams. I think the first time we chatted, it was the attempt 1, which would have been on about New Year's Day.
Yeah.
So we chatted then. To be honest, I can't remember what we said. It was over a year ago now. but after that, I had another go at another one. So January the 1st, prior to January the 1st, I'd done the Steve Parr round, which was an amazing achievement. It was a big thing for me. I'd ran for like 2 days practically. I'd done a hell of a lot of running with a lot of elevation. And I think looking back now, back then I didn't give myself enough recovery time. Even if I would have been sleeping well, I don't think I gave myself knowing what I know now, I'd give myself a lot more recovery time. So stemming back even further than that, back to 2000, I first felt tired. Like I felt it noticeably in 2009. So we're going to go way back now. 2018, I had a good year, a couple of issues, but it was kind of going from 2018, the Cheviot Court, around about that period, 2018, December, going into the Spine Challenger race 2019. That's when I started running well for me. January 2019, I came 3rd in the Spine Challenger South, And then I kind of just got a bit giddy and started entering all different kinds of races. Then I did the Cheviot Goat in December, Spine Challenger South in January. I did a 40-mile mountain race in March 2019. Then I went on to doing UTS 50, what would have been in May. Did the Scarfell Sky Race, which was only a 20-odd mile, but still a good. I put a lot of training into doing that, and I got quite a good time. I was really happy with that. So that was June, Scarfell Sky Race. And I did the Beacons Way Ultra 100-mile race in July, I think it was. Then I went to Vietnam and did a 100k mountain marathon in September. And then I was supposed to do the Mourne Skyline, a sky race over in Ireland in October. And then I was meant to do, I think it was Team Away, one of their events, but the one in December. Was it the White Rose Ultra? But I think I was going to do the White Rose Ultra 100.
Yeah, I think so.
That would have been in December, wouldn't it? So
yeah.
I got as far as the Beacons Way Ultra in July. I won that, so I was really happy with that. But after that time then, that is when I really started to notice that I felt tired. I felt like things were diminishing. I felt like things were going downhill, especially when I went to Vietnam. I remember getting to Vietnam and feeling really tired and really not looking forward to it. But I mean, I was there now. I paid all that money. What else was I going to do? And I wasn't experienced enough to know what I know now and realise that I was suffering with the early signs of, being, overtraining and being fatigued.
Yeah.
So I went ahead and I did the race. I didn't have a good race. I still came fifth. I was happy with that at the time. But looking back now, and after I'd done the race, in the couple of weeks afterwards, it got to the point where I felt that tired that I knew I wouldn't be able to go and do. I knew I wouldn't be able to competitively race the Mourne Skyline. So I took a step back and just said, well, I paid for it. I'll go and do it, but I'll just run it under my own steam. And that was a shocking run. I remember I went over there with Maggie and Sophie Grant, if you know Sophie Grant, and her husband, George.
Yeah.
And I remember coming over the line, I was dripped white. I'd anticipated on getting around in about 5 hours. I think it took me about 6 hours. And I'd only took enough food to last me 5 hours because I thought that would be the maximum it'd take me. And I remember for the last hour, I feel pretty ashamed to admit this, but I was begging people for gels on the way back down the hill. I bonked massively and people was overtaking me and I was saying, have you got any spare gels? I bonked. I was literally shaking. I couldn't hardly stand up. And one fella stopped running. He came over to me and said, yeah, pal, you can have a Mars bar and a gel. It's all I've got. I went, thank you very much. That'll do. And I managed to get over the line. And I remember looking at Sophie Grant and she was just saying, you need to sort yourself out. And afterwards she said to Maggie, you need to have a word with him because he's not right. He needs to stop doing this. So then, yeah, I decided not to do the White Rose Ultra after that. And it was even more frustrating because I remember being on the plane on the way home and Ultra Exco emailed me saying, you can have a free place to the Mexico race if you want next week. I know it's a bit short notice, but if you want, you can, we'll pay. I think they even said they pay half of the flights, a return flight. And I had to turn around and just say, no, I'm really sorry, but I can't. So that's when I first started feeling fatigued, 2019. And then after that, then I think I had 6 months of literally, I wasn't training hard. I was just basically recovering. And it took me about 6 months to start feeling right again. And then at the end of that 6 months, it would have been when COVID first came about.
Yep.
So it was July when I did the Beacons Way Ultra. 6 months from then it'd take us to about January, February, wouldn't it, in 2020?
Yes.
Yeah. So then I remember that year then kind of early on in the year kind of feeling good again. And I thought, right, I can start training. What do I want to do? I thought I'll enter UTS 165. Ultra Trail Snowdonia 100 mile, 165 kilometres. Yep. So I entered that. And then I trained really hard for it. I trained really well. I got in really good shape. I got in probably the best shape of my life. I was kind of thinking, do you know what? I know I've had a rough 6 months, but I feel like I'm genuinely over it. and I felt, my graphs were all peaking. I went to the peak of my fitness, and UTS 165 got cancelled 1 week before race day. And that's when I decided to take on the steep power round, which I think we've chatted about in another podcast.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So yeah, I did that. Did well. I managed to break the record. And afterwards, I think I had a week off and I did my first 10K easy run. 1 week after doing 115 miles and like 12 or 13,000 meters of elevation and running for 42 hours. And it was a bit silly, really, looking back. I should have had 2 to 3 weeks off and done what I've just done now after this race, just not bothered about running at all. And I didn't. I started training again, and my body allowed me to do that. But I wasn't, when I did the steep power round, because it took me over 24 hours, like it took me 42 hours. I think because I woke up half a day early as well, I was running for 42 hours, but I was awake for 12 hours prior to that 42 hours. And then I didn't sleep very well afterwards. I did go to sleep for a good duration afterwards, because my body was just that knackered that it kind of had no option but to sleep. But after that first night of maybe 6 to 8 hours of broken sleep, my sleeping schedule was just all over the show. I was getting up at 1 o'clock in the morning and I couldn't get back to sleep. And this just continued. I'd be up at 2 to 3 a.m. having a brew and trying to get back rested again, trying to get myself back to sleep. And it was horrible. And this went on for a couple of months. And after a couple of months, I got back into a routine of going to bed at like 9 or 10 o'clock at night, getting up at 6 or 7. But during that period from going to bed to getting up, sleep was really broken. It was terrible. I remember just being at my wit's end and thinking, this is doing my effing head in. Like, I really need to just sleep. It's driving me nuts. I couldn't concentrate. It was horrible. And I just couldn't shake it. Just didn't know what it was. Just tried all different things. And this and that has gone on from September 2020 as long as September 2021. And beyond that, up until only about December 2021. So it's getting confusing now. Well, it's not that confusing, but people listening to it might be a little bit lost.
Yeah.
So I'll try and stick to what we were chatting about. So I was really, sleep went to an all-time low as of September 2020. Then I still continued to train because my body was allowing me to do so. I didn't enter any races, but I did try to do the solo Bob Graham, which was, I aborted it and it was a failure on New Year's Day 2021. Then maybe February 2021, 8 weeks later, I did an Abraham's T round, 30 miles, well, a bit less than 30 miles with 3,500 meters of elevation. I was pretty happy with my time, considering, looking back now, I wasn't as fresh as I could have been. I was quite fatigued. I wasn't sleeping very well. Did it in 6.5 hours. And then I was happy with that. And then I thought, right, now's the time. I'm going to go. That will be my last long run. And I'm going to have another go at a crack at solo unsupported Bob Graham. And like an idiot, I don't know why, I'm too stubborn. I should have waited until I felt right again. But I kind of did feel right, but I didn't feel 100%. Yeah. And I only had a 10-day taper from when I did the Abraham's T round to trying to attempt solo unsupported Bob Graham attempt 2. And yeah, it just didn't end very well. I got 40 odd miles in, which is further than last time, but I just felt absolutely goosed. I was absolutely knackered. I didn't feel good setting off, but I forced it. I felt better when I was actually moving after I'd set off. But then all the way through that 40 odd mile, it was just full of highs and lows. And it got to the point where it was just too much of a low. I was knackered. And I thought, why are you pushing your body this hard? It's not healthy. I kind of started to feel unhealthy mentally on the run. Yeah. I thought, something needs to give here. Like, you're not right. You need to stop. So I stopped at 42 miles. And it was at that point then, that is when me personally realised that I had a big issue and that I couldn't keep masking it. So that was in early March, or it might have even been April off the top of my head, 2021. So from April, May, June, July, I literally didn't run. If I did, it would have just been no more than 5K, dead easy. They were quite sporadic. There was no intensity. I just ran when I felt like it, and I'd managed to pick up a couple of niggles as well. I'd done something to my hip.
Yep.
That wasn't right, and I've still got a bit of an injury now, but I class it as more of a niggle than a proper injury because I can still run with it. I've done something to my. It's called your pubis symphysis. I don't know if you've ever heard of it. It's like a piece of cartilage, and it's in the middle of. It's basically it's in the center of your pelvis. It's near your pubic bone.
Yeah.
And it just gives your pelvis that flex, because your pelvis would be quite rigid if it didn't have this piece of cartilage in the middle that allows the hips to move and everything. So I've got this inflammation of the pubis symphysis, and I don't know whether it's from overtraining and not being and being under recovered, whether it's just whinging a little bit because it's tired and it's inflamed. But this keeps coming and going. So I had a couple of injuries, and that stopped me running for like literally 4 months. I was depressed. I put a lot of weight on. I felt crap, like everybody does. Anybody who's a runner and they know they have to stop running, it's heartbreaking, isn't it? So I was a bit of a shit time for me. But I kind of realised that if I wanted to kind of get back to where I used to be, I needed to kind of do this. So that's what I did. And then in these 4 months, I really kind of got my thinking cap on, and I don't know why. It was so obvious that the root cause of the issue was sleep. So I thought, your training for 4 months now is training yourself to sleep. So I tried everything. I tried like herbal teas. I bought a Shakti mat. I got the Headspace app and started doing meditation. I tried all the holistic kind of approaches, and they helped, but it just wasn't perfect. And then it dawned on me, and so in the past, I'm not afraid to talk about it. I've had some mental health issues. I've been depressed, and I've been on antidepressants many years ago. And I thought to myself, what happens if you just need? Because when I was depressed years ago, I could have sworn blind I wasn't depressed.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I was in denial, and then so I thought, maybe it's to do with your mental health. And I thought, it's not a bad thing to be mentally ill. Like, mental health, like, I've not done anything to cause this, what's happened to me. I've just got the way I look at it is I've got weak mental health, and it's just an illness, isn't it? It can come out. That's the way I that's what I tell myself, to kind of be able to talk about it. Like some people don't want to talk about it if it's a big taboo subject. But the way I look at it is, and the way I talk to people is, I'll just be openly and admit that some people get mental health because they just get it. And that's what's happened to me. And there might be factors in the past that have caused me to get these mental health issues, i.e. stress, work. They're not bad things that have caused it. It's just I've put a lot of pressure on myself in the past. And I think that now I've got weak mental health. So I'm quite susceptible to getting, so I'll go back to this in a minute. Basically, what was happening, why I wasn't sleeping, is I had anxiety, and I didn't know what anxiety was. I never had bad anxiety in my life before. Well, I have, but I'm not really knowing what it was until I spoke to a doctor, and he said it's anxiety, and you don't really necessarily have to be having anything that can cause anxiety. It just comes out of nowhere, and that's what was causing my brain to keep ticking over each night and not get good sleep, because I had anxiety. And then now I've addressed this issue, and I've got to the bottom of what was causing my sleep. I went to see the doctor in December, just before the Cheviot go, and then they gave me some medication. Basically, I didn't want to have to go back on medication, but I did. And ever since then, my sleep has just been 10 times better than it ever has been. And now I'm sleeping better. My recovery is a million times better. And the only regret I have is not going to see the doctor back in April.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? So I literally had started December last year. So it was only December, January. It was only 2 months ago that I got diagnosed with anxiety. I got some medication for it, and now I'm able to sleep better. And everything's pretty sweet right now. That's the only way I can put it.
Yeah, well, I've got to say, Howard, thanks very much for sharing that story, because obviously we're mates, and we've talked about this a bit privately, and I had an idea what was going on. And to see you having gone through that and been going through that, and then to go and finish third in a very tough race where your body's really got to be working right, it's fantastic to see that. And I think it's kind of an extra reason why I thought it was a good time to talk about it, because now again, because we've talked about these things. So I was suffering through 2021 with I had a kind of, it's always a unique situation for each person. This is why I want to kind of add a slightly different angle on it so more people can sort of relate, in that I was more sort of outside like mental stress, which in a way is the same, but for me it wasn't affecting my sleep. But what it was doing to me was basically tightening up my body, and I kept getting these tendon issues. And the root cause of that, I mean, partly there's an issue with my actual running technique, which doesn't help. But I've looked through the history of this with a physio, and we've looked through my whole training history, and it's kind of like, my body can actually take even the bad technique, but something then tips it over, and then I get injured. And the thing that was tipping it over was the level of like mental stress that I was under. So it's similar to what you're describing, whereby I was heading towards chronic fatigue, but not because I was overtraining or undereating. Actually, I keep an eye on that, and as you know, that there's metrics, there's your weight and different things you can keep an eye on, and all those metrics were saying this guy does not have chronic fatigue. But the constant stress level that I was under was too high. It was more than I could take.
It's that negative energy.
It is. It's so hard, and like you say, it's so hard to recognize when you're in it and make whatever choice it is that you need to make to like you say, to get to the root cause and address it. Now I've just got very lucky in that, my kind of dream race that I've been trying to do, I had the option of then saying, actually, let's go at this with a low stress approach and hike it. Don't worry about how fast you do it. Just go and have a good time and have the best experience you can. And I took as much pressure off myself as I could. And like the week before the race, where you'd normally be tapering and, thinking, I don't want to lose a bit of fitness, I was kind of too busy, as a lot of people are finishing work, seeing the family. I did not train at all that week. I did no train. I just didn't have time for it. And I thought, well, I can either train or I can sleep some more. And I thought, I'll sleep some more. I absolutely I just went for what's the lowest stress approach I can have to this race. Obviously, I still sit in the car beforehand feeling sick with nerves before the race as you are. But it's given me then a completely different experience.
Stress hormones as low as possible. Yeah.
It's such a different experience. And now actually, and I think it sounds like you're finding the same yourself, it's like gives you this confidence of, oh, well, if this comes up again, I'm not going to be scared to face it. I'm not going to be scared to approach it, because it's amazing, like you say, what your body can do, where you do a race and you kind of think, okay, I feel okay, I'll run again tomorrow. Yeah. and you can keep sort of tricking yourself like this for years.
You tell yourself you think you've lost fitness, so you need to go and get that fitness back, but really you've not lost anything.
And that thing again after a race, I mean, because again, you and I have been talking, and I've literally run, it's about 3/4 of a mile from my house to my gym. I did that on Friday just to see, because I've had a slight injury on my leg. I just wanted to see how the leg felt. Other than that, I've been doing some gentle spinning just for like active recovery and upper body weights, because actually you don't do that much with your upper body. And I've really wanted to do something and a bit of swimming.
Interesting. Just touching up on what you just said there, I was just chatting to my partner Maggie this morning, and Maggie was listening to a podcast, and it was talking about being really careful that, I mean, and I'm guilty of this myself, like I had a week off, like a total week off after the race. And then I began with some easy cycling. And then I began with like a bit of easy walking. And then it progressed after 2 weeks. I had 2 weeks off running. And then on the second week, I did a bit of a walk with the tiny run at the end, and then now on the third week, which I'm into now, I've started building up like 1 hour easy runs again.
Yeah.
But going back to what we're talking about, what we need to remember is the metabolic rates that we put like I forgot the word what the podcast said, but
I know what you're getting at. I don't know the right terminology for it, but yeah, I mean, basically, there's so much going on in your body after, because it's not just the race; it's that training block leading up to the race, where you've kind of been hammering your body, and then you give it a tiny bit of rest, and then you hammer it like never before.
Yeah.
And yes, you're allowing it to recover, but in that time, it's almost like there's a lot of recovery processes going on, but then there's a lot of other processes are kind of winding down and kind of going on hold. And yeah.
I remember what we're going to say now. It's like basically when you're doing this easy running or easy walking, easy cycling, metabolically, there's still things going on inside your body. It's still metabolically taxing, and we almost think, because it's cycling, it's just an easy spin. It will still tax your body metabolically, and it's them things that are hiding underneath that we need to take into consideration as well. So
yeah, exactly. I've been paying very careful attention to it. I mean, when I say I've been like on a bike spinning, I mean like 10 minutes. and I've noticed that my legs actually felt the next day as if I'd run for a couple of hours. And it's kind of like, okay, I'm not ready to increase it yet. It's that, really, really listening careful to your body about where you're truly at, sort of recovery wise.
Kind of like took me about 2 years of being under recovered to finally get the recovery properly right. Yeah.
I mean, I have no idea whether I'm getting it right yet or not, but definitely paying a lot more attention to it, because we don't like being there. For me, I mean, I kind of knew, I think it was like March 2021, where I kind of got injured to the extent I had to stop running for a few weeks, and then got back into it, and then got injured again, and so I had to stop again. And then I did the Lakeland 100 in July, and it was a disaster. 7 hours slower than the last time I did it. That's a lot.
Yeah.
And so after that, I really, did similar to yourself, properly backed off and just gave myself space. I was doing that kind of sporadic running and things, but allowing myself to just not have that pressure and listen to my body. And it's hard at the time. You think you're going to lose your fitness forever, and it's so hard.
Back.
Yeah. So after all of that, I understand you were training for the Cheviot Good. Nice 50 miler in December.
Yeah.
And then Storm Arwen cancelled it for you.
Yeah, the day before.
Yeah. So then rejig of things, try and get your head back in order and get on the start line for the Challenger North.
Yeah.
How were you feeling? Did you know you were ready for it? You were going to be all right?
Yeah, and I mean, it's kind of... I think I kind of knew I was capable of finishing the race. Either way, I knew I was capable and ready to finish the race. How well it would actually go on the day, as to whether I would podium or whether I'd get a top 10 or whether I'd be the last man over the line, that was all a bit of a mystery. But I was pretty certain that unless something pretty bad happened, I'd get over the line. So yeah, I was feeling quite confident, should we put it, because my sleep had gotten. I think I got my medication the week after the Cheviot Goat. So the Cheviot Goat race, I was a little bit, I was crapping it a little bit really, because I was thinking this is either going to go really well or it's going to go really bad, because one day I was sleeping well and the other day I wasn't sleeping well, and then I was sleeping bad, and it was just all jumbled up still. Some days I'd have good sleeps, some days I'd have a bad sleep, and I just had a funny feeling that in the build up to the Cheviot Go, that week, sod's law, I'd have a really bad week of sleep. And that is what happened pretty much. And I felt like I must admit, I must be really honest, I did feel a little bit of a slight relief when the race did get cancelled, because I was putting a lot of pressure on myself to just go and do it.
Yeah.
And I was scared of not doing it well, I must admit. But I thought, it is what it is. You know, if things don't, if you start feeling that you can't keep the pace up, just back off. And simply, I just kept telling myself that at the end of the day, it's only a training race, not a spine race. So that's why I was that's why I was doing it, because I kept telling myself, it's only a training race for the spine. You don't have to prove anything to anybody. Just go and do it. So I was going to go and do it regardless of how I felt. But when it got cancelled, I must admit, I was a bit like, oh, well, you know, you did have a crap sleep the night before, but at least now's the time to kind of get, you know, you've got like another month now, or 3 weeks or whatever it was, to get yourself even more ready for the race. And a bonus to that was that I'd not flogged myself for 50 to 60 mile.
Yeah.
At the Go. Do you know what I mean? So I went in, it was probably for the best for me personally. It allowed me to get 3, and after the Go, then when I got my medication, boom, sleeping like a baby, 8, 9, 10 hours a night. I think the only night I had a bad sleep was the night before the race, but it was just pure excitement.
Yeah.
So yeah, I kind of was a little bit apprehensive when I woke up. I was like, oh damn, I've not had as good a sleep as I could have had. But don't worry about it, because for the last 3 weeks you have had a good sleep. Yep. So that's how I felt going into the race.
Yeah. And so what was the race like? Was it a fast start?
It was a little bit faster than what I thought.
Simon does like a fast start, though, doesn't he?
Oh yeah. Simon blew off, and I was just kidding. I was like, yeah, he's a phenomenal runner, Simon. He just shot off like a rocket. That was the last I saw of him.
Yeah.
I think because you go out of the field and you just take a hard left and you're immediately on the Pennine Way. It's a climb, it's a farm track all the way up to Great Shunner. And I think as I was maybe 100 metres up the farm track, Simon had disappeared into the mist about a kilometre ahead. I was like, crikey. And there was a couple of people trying to follow him, and I just thought, good luck with that.
Yeah. Funny thing is that I met Simon on the 2020 spine, because he'd gone off trying to keep up with John Kelly, and he'd smashed himself. And I met him in Lothersdale, where he was wrapped in a foil blanket, looking like his race was over. And I convinced him to sort of head out of there hiking with me for a few hours. And it got him going again. He finished. But
he third that year, or 5th. He did really well still, didn't he?
No, I don't think he was that far up the field. He finished it, which was great, considering he smashed himself so hard. Yeah. But yeah, I'm sure he's going to be back on the full spine before long with unfinished business.
So so I kind of didn't. It went a bit faster than I thought. Obviously, I saw the other people flying off from the start. I think I was 4th initially, and I thought I can live with this. I'm happy with 4th in the first kilometre. You know, it's not a good place to be. You're not at the front. You're not at the back. Just see what happens. But what happened is I didn't quite realise I did let the pressure of 5th and 6th position and 7th position. I could really feel them breathing down my neck. So I was pushing a little bit. I was all right on the first climb, I suppose. I think I was just doing my own thing. But when I was doing my own thing on the first climb, I eventually managed to get into 3rd just as we hit the top.
Yeah. And
I was quite eager to maintain that 3rd position for quite a long time. And I think that I should have just backed right off again and just let 4th come back into 3rd and put me back into 4th again.
Yeah,
that would have done me better, to be honest. But I didn't. I kind of tried to maintain that 3rd position, and that went on for a long time. I can't remember the guy's name. I just remember him having a big long beard. I think he's an Irish fella. He said hello. We had a bit of small chit chat at the top, just as when we were next to each other and stuff. Nice lad. And then, God, he became my worst enemy then for about 50k. Cursing him all the way, because I wanted to relax a little bit, and I just couldn't relax. I could just, 1 minute he'd be gone, Like, I think, yes, I've lost him. And then I look over my shoulder and I'm like, bastard, I can see him again. I'd have to put a bit of I wouldn't say I'd put an effort in, but the pace was quite, I couldn't back off. I couldn't relax for the first 50k. I couldn't relax for all of it, if I'm being honest. But the first 50k, I was hanging on for that third spot. And then we got to Middleton in Teesdale, and I was like, right, I'm going to literally change my base layer. What happened is I sweated quite a lot on that first leg.
Yes.
So I thought, I'll change my base layer and I'll change my waterproof jacket, because that was wet inside. And I just thought, I've got the luxury of changing it. And I probably won't sweat as much on leg 2 now. I've got a lot of because I find I tend to sweat a lot at the beginning of a race. And then I think once my body and my skin, that thin layer in between, once all the water comes out of that, I tend to like not sweat as much. It's weird. I don't know if anybody else ever comes across that. But I'm quite a sweaty runner. So I got rid of all my sweat on leg 1, changed my base layer and my waterproof jacket. So it was nice and dry. And then I didn't have anything to eat apart from just my race food. I was in and out of that checkpoint within 10 minutes. I think the first 5 people that went in there, and possibly more people, I know for a fact that they all had a bit of the food that was on offer. I think it was, I don't know if Simon did.
Yeah, Middleton, they had a really nice chicken curry when I was there. It was very good.
That was it. Yeah, I remember seeing people sat down with feet up and having a bit of a quick meal, a quick 5 minutes. I didn't have any of that. I just literally put my head torch on, changed my layers, and then I set off again. And I thought, I need to try and make a gap now in between 4th position.
Yeah.
So that was what leg 2 was all about, getting a big gap. And obviously you don't know yourself how much of a gap you're making. So I kind of tried to make a gap, but without taxing myself too much.
Yes.
Well, and that section out of Middleton in Teesdale all the way to Cauldron Snout, it's a bit technical when you get on the approach to Cauldron Snout, but other than that, it's quite flat and very runnable, isn't it?
Yes.
So I kind of did the best as I could on that without tiring myself out. Couldn't see anybody behind me. It was dark, no head torches in the horizon over my shoulder. Everything was fine. But then it was on the way to Cauldron Snout, there was a big headwind. Couldn't run. I could run, but I was just as well as walking.
Yeah.
So I walked all the way on the approach to Cauldron Snout. From Cauldron Snout, it's all uphill to Hike Up Nick. That was just a walk, and I started to feel quite tired. Then I started to feel pretty crap. It was really muddy, boggy, icy. I couldn't seem to stay on my feet. I felt really tired, and I'd noticed then I was going through a bit of a low patch.
Mm-hmm.
I thought, just bear with it, as you know, as you're an experienced ultra runner. After this low, you'll be on high, and I was just waiting for hours for this high. I got to Dufton, I was still in the low. I was on the way up Crossfell, still on the low, and I'm a pretty good climber normally, and I envisaged myself before the race flying all across Crossfell. I felt like I was climbing Everest. It was that bad. I was breathless. I felt sick. I couldn't eat. One foot in front of the other. It was terrible going over Crossfell. And I got to the summit of, I think it's Knockfell or Great Dunfell. The one in between the golf ball and Crossfell. I think it's Knockfell.
Yeah.
I'm not sure. But anyway, somewhere around
which one? But I know the one you mean, yeah.
Looked over my shoulder and there's an head torch about 100 metres away, and I'm like, oh, bastard, like that's that third spot gone now. I was absolutely knackered, and it was Roland. He seems to be my best friend for the next, God knows how many, all the way to Bellingham, basically. So, yeah, I chatted with Roland on the first climb up, Great Shunner, a nice guy.
Yeah.
So we had a bit of a chit-chat, and we got in Greg's hut together. We had some noodles together. We both left at the same time. We both ran down to Garrigill together. He stopped because he was chafing a little bit, so I said, I'm just going to carry on, mate. So he said, yeah, no worries. Got to Alston. I had some lasagna. Yeah, I think I had a good half an hour in there in total, maybe a little bit longer. Just changed my socks. Can't remember. No, I didn't change anything at Alston. I just literally had some lasagna, had a kit check, and then I was off again. And I set off a little bit before Roland did, so I was in third spot still. Sun came up, started moving a bit better than what I was doing prior to. I was proper trudging over Crossfell. I felt on a big low. I was on a bit of a high again. was on high again, but I wasn't really moving particularly fast. I kept faffing. I remember putting my Catula microspikes on because the trainers they wasn't really grippy in the sludge and the wet bog and the mud.
Yeah.
And I just felt like I was wasting a lot of energy slipping because of the ground was just so boggy. So I put my microspikes on just to get some good grip. But I thought that would be a good idea. So I stopped for about 2 minutes to put them on. And then after about 2 or 3 kilometres of that, we hit quite a lot of road sections and hard tracks. And I was like, these Catulas are going to have to come off. They're grippy, but they're doing my head in. So that was another 2 minute to 3 minute faff. Stopped putting them on. Got to Hadrian's Wall eventually. And Roland caught me up again. So I'm like, oh, bloody hell. Can't seem to shake Roland off. So we had it running side by side again for a little while, having a chit chat. He decided to push on because he was feeling good. And that was the last I saw Roland again then until I got to Bellingham. And by the time I got to Hadrian's Wall, though, and when I was chatting with Roland and he left me, I was on an all-time low there. I was debating because it wasn't what I had envisaged from the start, like having a right good. I was just crawling along, basically. I wasn't moving particularly well or particularly fast. And I just thought, are you really prepared to do another 24 hours of this when you're not really? I wanted to race it, and I felt like I wasn't racing. I felt like I was just getting by. Yeah. I thought, don't be ungrateful. You know, the people who'd love to be killed to be in your position, not killed, but people would do a lot to be in your position, so you should be grateful. And I thought, just persevere with it. You know, it's not the race you wanted, but, you know, hey ho, you're still in third. Oh, sorry, I forgot to add, on the way, as we left Alston, I managed to catch second place up. He wasn't feeling too good. I don't know whether he'd burnt out or whether he was injured, but he decided his race was over. So I asked him if he was all right. We had a chat, and I asked him if he had enough food. He said, oh, yeah, I'm fine. And then 2 minutes after I left him, his parents were walking up to meet him, so I think he'd already arranged to have somebody come and pick him up. I think he just lost the plot.
Yeah.
I might be wrong.
Yeah, I was wondering what happened to the others that went out fast with Simon, and it sounds like that was one of them.
What happened, yeah.
Yeah.
So I was in second spot then, and I was like I really, obviously, understandably, I really wanted to hang on to that second spot then.
Yep.
Well, I'm quite pleased I was in second spot, and then Roland caught me up and left me and put me into third. So I'm kind of on another low again now, thinking, oh, damn it, I've lost my second spot and now in third. But as Roland's running off, I'm thinking, tactics, is he going to leave him to it? Am I going to catch him up later on? Or, you know, is this it now? I've lost that second spot. So I thought, well, you can't give any more than what you can give now, Edward, so just keep on doing what you're doing.
Yeah.
And just off to Bellingham. And that's what I did. It was horrible. It was, you must know yourself. What was it? What did you think of that diversion?
Yeah, well, I've chatted with...
I nearly got my phone out of my bag. I nearly got my mobile phone in my bag and rang race control and started giving them abuse on the phone.
Yeah, it's so weird because it just really, everyone I've spoken to, it messed with your head so much. And people that have been involved with organising that diversion, they've said to me, but it was like the ground was no different to if you'd been on the route. And actually, I agree with them. You know, it's a really bad section, really boggy section that we were diverted around, and horrible section through the woods. Mentally, it was so difficult. It was absolute hell.
I know the organisers didn't even do it on purpose. It was just what started happening into the forest. So rules are rules. That's the route we had to take, or otherwise we didn't have a race to do. So I can totally understand why they did it, but God, it was tough mentally. And I thought about throwing the towel in there. I thought, this is not good. I'm not prepared to. I couldn't comprehend that at that point I still had about 25 miles left to Bellingham, and I'm like, it's the end of the day. You've just been going all day. You've only done 25 miles, and you've got another 25 miles left to Bellingham, and that is what was going round in my head. And then when I got to Hornisted Farm, the lady, is it called Hornisted or Horneyhouse Farm?
Hornisted Farm, yeah.
Hornisted Farm. I thought I got it wrong and miscalculated. I thought that was the checkpoint. I thought that was Bellingham. So when I saw the head torch and she said, come in, I'm like, oh, yes, I got to Bellingham already. Oh, brilliant. And then she said, oh, no, it's 10K away. I was like, oh, my God, another 10K of this. I was broken. So I quickly had some soup.
The soup was good.
She's amazing. She gave me a can of Coca-Cola and sent me on my way.
Yep.
And then she told me that Roland had only just not long left, about 20 minutes ago.
Yeah.
Showed me on the tracker that it wasn't even a Bellingham yet. So that kind of lifted my spirits a little bit. I thought, hey, it's still a race on here. Got to Bellingham, sorted myself out. I thought to myself, right, I'm going to have a good reset here. I'm going to have a little sleep. I'm going to change everything, go to the loo, take my contact, because I wear contact lenses. So at this point, I'd had my contact lenses in for like a day and a half, you know, and you're only meant to have them in for 12 hours. So my eyelids was keep together practically.
Yeah, what I was racing in contact lenses as well. First thing when I got into each checkpoint, even if, okay, maybe not if you're only staying there 10 minutes, but even if I was only staying half an hour, which I wasn't much longer than that at Hebden, I took my lenses out and put my glasses on just for like that half an hour.
Yeah,
and then put new lenses in, and it made a big difference. I would definitely, for contact lens wearers, I definitely recommend that. Any chance you have like that, just take them out for a bit.
Yeah, maybe I should have done that at Alston.
Yeah.
I had a quick time, but I didn't. I left it all the way to Bellingham. So I took my lenses out, threw them away, had a sleep. Roland was there, Roland was asleep. And then it felt like I think I went to sleep, and I think after 5 minutes I was awake again. I'd managed to nod off, and then you could hear everything outside in the checkpoint, and it was wooden floors in like an old hall. So you could, every time someone slid a chair out to get under the table and have some food, every time another person came in, you'd hear the chairs getting dragged out, you'd hear like old school chairs, and they make a right clappering noise on the floor, on the wooden floor. But you just know yourself, so I could hear all that going on. After 5 minutes, I debated, just thinking, do you know what? You're just going to lose a lot of time here, and you're going to get no sleep. You might as well just crack on and get it over and done with. And I thought, no, just persevere with it and just try and go to sleep again. And I did, and I think the next time I woke up then, I must have had a good hour. And I woke up feeling absolutely amazing. And I thought, oh, this is good. I'm going to get up now and I'm going to set off. And I knew there was somebody else in there sleeping still. And I thought it was Roland, but it wasn't. What had happened is First Lady and fourth overall had come in behind me, and she'd got her head down. So it was her who I could hear snoring and coughing, not Roland. So I got outside and said, oh, Roland's already gone. And then I just kind of, looking back now, I kind of faffed about in Bellingham for a lot. Really, I should have got in, been focused, took the lenses out, got straight to bed, got straight up, put my lenses in, bump, and gone off. I'd have saved myself a good half an hour if I'd have done that. But I think I wasted half an hour by chit-chatting. And just fannying about. I'm normally really good at my transitions, but I think I just I backed off massively. I was at it because I was feeling pretty crap on the approach to Bellingham. I'm like, this is it. I'm going to chill out, get ready, and then go. That was I was in that mentality until I actually got out the taxi at the Burness. And then it was like, bump, man on fire then. I set off from there. I was running better than I was when I left Middleton in Teesdale. On that leg over the Chariots, I ran that better than what I did on leg 2, which would have only been about 8 or 9 hours into the start of the race. And I thought, why couldn't I have felt this good like on leg 2, on leg 3? And it was just weird. But my body must have just got that mental and physical and that reset you get when you go to sleep and everything resets. And I managed to get over from Burness all the way to the end. I think that leg took me about 7 hours.
Wow.
Which is pretty good.
Yeah, that's fast.
To say it's the last leg, I think I must have done a negative split on that. I'll have to have a look actually.
Yeah. That's a quick split.
Yeah. And then finished. It was amazing. It was like I know the Cheviot quite well. So once I got over the diversion was a new thing for me. But once I got on that track, it reminded me of when I was with John Kelly and helped him out on his Pennine Way because I did the last leg over the Cheviot with him.
Yeah.
So I was it was pretty good actually. It was quite a nice run. I was all like you say, all on my own. And I was having these flashbacks of when I helped John Kelly break his Pennine Way record. And the ground was probably different when you did it, but it was like the first 3 to 4 inches in most places were frozen solid. And then because of the weight of me, I'm a big lad, I'd step on that and it was sponge underneath and it just semi-crack. So it was grippy. It was very runnable. My run over the Cheviots I thought was really runnable. It's frozen quite hard. the bog was crusty in a sense. It was kind of frozen hard on the top and soft underneath, and it just allowed me. It was like a soft landing. Occasionally, there'd be a thin patch and your foot would come underneath, and you'd be like, ah, but you carry on running, and yeah, I had a right nice run over the Cheviots. The sun came up about 8 o'clock, 7:30ish. First light was at 7:30. I just got to the summit of the Cheviot at that point. And then, the sun rose. I was on the shill by the time the sun came up. And then I just had the sun on my back then all the way to Kirk Yetholm. And I think I was like 7 and 8 minute miling down on that track.
Cool.
Until I got to the Tunnocks Caramel Way for a bit. Do you know where the trailer is with Tunnocks on it? Do you know where that is? And as you come off the Pennine Way, and you hit Kirk Yetholm, and you hit the first time up road, the flat bit, there's a trailer in front of you, and it's got Tunnocks Caramel Wafer on it.
Oh, right. Somehow I've missed that.
It reminds me of Damien Hall, because when he always does his spine race, the pass is always stood next to the Tunnocks Caramel Wafer trailer. But yeah, when I got to that there, I was a bit fucked, and I managed to keep on jogging, and I thought, keep jogging until you get to that final hill, the killer hill.
Yes.
What everybody knows about. And I'm sorry, but I had to walk all that hill. And then when I got to the top of there, I was like coursing down into Kirk Yetholm then. And my girlfriend and a few other people were waiting for me at the end.
Cool.
I was really glad to finish. I was just like, it was a nice ending to a tough race, to be fair.
Yeah.
Nice day for it.
Yeah. No, it's a great race, and it's great to see you coming back from the issues you've been working through. So I've made a note here that obviously you finished third in the Challenger South and you finished third in the Challenger North. So it's got to be full spine next January, hasn't it?
That's why I was really, really trying to hang on to that second spot, because I thought, I must have a thing with third position. It's just third each time.
Yeah.
Good. It's awesome.
Yeah. So you've had 3 weeks since the race now, or a bit longer for yourself than it is for me, I guess, isn't it?
3 weeks, yeah. Tuesday, I think Tuesday morning, yeah.
Yeah. So you're starting to train again now?
So when I first finished the race, and I was thinking further forward ahead, I'd have thought now by this point I would be ready to train again.
Yeah.
But I'm not. I think I'm just going to have another week of running when I don't feel tired, when I feel good.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Lessons learned.
Yes.
I think I'm more experienced enough to know now when I'm feeling right and when I'm not. I thought I would have needed 2 weeks off running completely, with a bit of light exercise in that 2 weeks, i.e. some walking and some riding, easy rides, which is what I did. Then I kind of, on that 2 week mark, I did my first run, and it was it was only a 2 hour run, but I went up to Blencathra, up Hallsfell Ridge and Sharp Edge, and 1,000 metres, and only about 10k, but it was probably a little bit. I felt good on the run, but afterwards I felt pretty tired, so I had a day off, and then I went on holiday. I had another day off running, and then I think I had 4 days off after that. I didn't run for 4 days, and I just ran when I was on holiday once when I felt good. Yeah. So, and that's all I'm doing. I'm just taking each day as it comes for now. I've not got a plan at the minute. I'm just taking it each day at a time now, I think, mate.
Yeah, as you say, it's more important to be ready to start training, and even if it takes another couple of weeks, otherwise you start training and you won't be able to train to the same level, and it'll cost you a lot more than 2 weeks worth of training later on.
Exactly, and I think that's a mistake I've made in the past.
Yeah. Well, and not just you. I think probably 99.9% of all runners.
Yeah, definitely.
It's a very common thing, and I've been doing it, and pretty much everyone I know does it.
Yeah, it's easily done. It's now and then, I think. Yeah.
So what's next?
Cape Rath Ultra.
When is that?
That is in May, so I've got quite a long. And to be honest, now I'm ready for that. I don't need to do much.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? I don't need to start going hard and doing a load of volume because it's a multi-stage race.
Yeah.
We're going to be doing like about 40 miles a day maximum. Well, it's a lot, but I mean, I know it's a lot of 40-mile days back to back. But yeah, I need to train a little bit differently, but I don't necessarily need to start doing a shed load of volume.
Yeah.
Train for that, I think.
Yeah.
I'm going to give myself a good recovery period. Whether it takes 2 or 3 more weeks, start off with some easier runs, and then I'm going to start, when I got fatigued back in, when I tried to do the solo unsupported Bob Graham the second time, and I had to have that 4 months off. In that period, then I stopped running in the mountains because I was kind of addicted. I kind of loved running in the mountains that much that
yes,
it was them kind of runs that was kind of egging me on, even though I felt tired.
Yeah.
It was that therapy, that buzz I got from running in the mountains as to why I kept doing it when I was tired. So when I came back from that, then I've not really done that much in the mountains, and I feel like I could have, if I'd have put a bit more emphasis on running in the mountains in the final few months leading up to the spine, I think I could have performed a lot better in that.
Yeah.
I've been doing a lot of runnable trail.
Yeah, but I think it's something that we talked about last time I saw you in person, about training yourself to be ready to run in the mountains before you run in the mountains, because it's definitely one of the mistakes I've made with training over the last couple of years, where, as you said, I love running on trails, and bigger hills the better. Now, around where I live, there isn't the big mountains to be on too often, but I think I'm too often on ground that's not quite runnable. And so going out on a training run where I'm trying to develop my cardiovascular system or something, but because the ground and the steepness of the hill means I've got to walk that bit, I'm not actually doing the training that I set out to do. Exactly, and I need to get on the tarmac for that and do the training that I set out to do, rather than saying, I'm following the plan, but there's following the plan, and following the plan can be two different things.
Exactly. So that's what I did, to be honest. I kind of stuck to more runnable trails that mimicked the Pennine Way.
Yeah.
And I got better at running rather than doing a bit too much power hiking, if you know what I mean.
Yes.
But I feel like if I would have incorporated a little bit of it into the plan at the right points, it would have benefited me more. But that's what this, as of now, when I get recovered enough and I can go back into the mountains, I'll gradually ease back into running in the mountains, and that's where a lot of my training will be done for Cape Wrath, I think. Yep.
That sounds good. It's a fantastic looking race. I look at it every year, and so far I've just had other priorities, so I've not entered it yet.
Entered it 2 years ago, but because of COVID happening the first time around, it cancelled it. And the second year it was put on, but they changed the date to September.
Yeah.
I'm going to do September for whatever reason. So I deferred to this year. This year. So third time looking at, hopefully.
Yeah.
I kind of lost. I really wanted to run it hard and race it. Like hard race it when I first entered it. I had a bit of a racing bug then. I entered it in 2019 when I was feeling good. And then it's just passed by now. And I've kind of lost that desire that I had to run it hard, and now I'm just all in for the experience, if I'm being honest, because training for the spine, it takes up a lot of your time, a lot of mental energy, physical energy, emotional energy, and I just thought, do I really want to be putting all that in again so soon after I've just done a big race like that? Because you can win Cape Wrath, but I mean, you can't win getting your drop bag right and getting your kit right, and planning it all out and getting the right weight and getting it all. There's a lot to Cape Wrath. And there's a bit more to it than just running 30 to 40 miles a day.
Yep.
Got a plan right. So I've got over the fact that I'm going to have to do that again now. Otherwise, I'm going to waste my money. But I'm just there for the experience now.
And again, I think it's a good thing that there's a lot of races where there's, and you actually see it with people that win the races, things like the Spine and Cape Wrath and things. Very few people win them at the first attempt. And you're probably better off going and getting the experience, and doing it as an experience thing, and then next time go with the intention to win it. Because it's funny, you see somebody winning something and you think, where did that come from? Then you look at the history of the race, and they've run it once or twice before.
Yeah.
Maybe they've DNF'd one year, then they finished, 9th or 10th or something, and then they go and win it. And you think, right, actually, that wasn't out of the blue. This guy's been working on this for years.
It's part of you with a spine now. Next year, you're going to come 5th. The year after, you're going to DNF again. And then the year after that, you're going to come 3rd, and then you're going to win it.
I think at some point I need to take a break from it. But,
I've entered the fourth line next year now.
Yeah, I think I'll be there next year.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was just such an enjoyable experience, to be honest. I mean, not to say it wasn't hard, not to say there weren't low points, but the overall experience was I just loved being out for 5 days.
I know how much you put into it as well over the last few years, and it's caused you a bit of heartache, hasn't it, a few times? And
yeah.
I'm just glad to see you get the result that you deserved in the end.
Yeah, cheers, mate. Yeah. Cool. So I think we're just on the hour, and I promised to keep this to an hour. So I'm not going to take any more of your time.
Fast.
Just looked at the time. I hadn't looked for a while. So no, thanks very much, Howard. It's really, really great that you've been open and had a chat about the fatigue, because we both know other people that are going through things like that, and that's part of what we're trying to do on the podcast, is have a chat about some of the more difficult subjects and share a bit of what other people are going through. And there's an episode that's I haven't publicised yet, actually just released last night with Elaine Bisson, where we had a good chat about how nervous she gets before races. She's fantastic, brilliant winner.
She's a really nice woman, isn't she?
Yeah, she's really, really nice, but she gets really, really nervous before races. Right. And other people, a friend of mine was doing the London Marathon recently, and she'd phoned me up saying, I'm really doubting myself. And I said, well, it's completely normal. Week before a marathon or whatever. So everyone does that. And so again, to the fact that Elaine would have a chat about it, now other people will look at that and say, actually, no, Kevin's not making it up. Everyone struggles with these things.
So, yeah, it makes it more open and aware, doesn't it? Just really aware.
Yeah, exactly. So no, thanks a lot for that. So any last kind of quick word of advice for somebody who thinks they might be getting into fatigue?
Oh yeah, definitely. Just as soon as you feel that little bit of inclination in your own mind that you could well be overtraining or getting fatigued, don't be scared to have a day off. That's what I say to all my athletes now that I coach. Don't be scared to tell me that. I know we're trying to train you for an ultra, and you should be tired, but there's being tired and there's being fatigued. So just don't over push yourself, and don't be scared to take an extra rest day. That's the best bit of advice I can give to somebody. Don't be scared to just put in an extra rest day, because it won't do you any harm.
Yeah, brilliant. Thanks, Howard.
You're welcome.
Thanks.